Hello, and welcome to my dining room. This is episode 36 of the Live and Learn Knitting Podcast. My name is Anne, or Annie, and I'm coming to you from the banks of the Mississippi River in western Wisconsin. Today is Thursday, March 6th, 2025. And I am recording, it's afternoon. Usually I try and do these in the morning and get them all done and uploaded by lunchtime, but today we're doing it in the afternoon, which is better for the daylight in this room because the sun's not beating right in at me. The sun is up higher and up over here, so much better lighting to deal with. And I've got to make a mental note of that for the future, that would be a good thing. I'm going to say this, and it's going to be not true. I don't have a lot to talk about today. Doesn't mean it's going to stop me, does it? But I thought, well, I should do this anyway. One thing is I wanted to talk about this sweater, and we're kind of running out of winter. Yeah, we had a blizzard yesterday, March blizzard. It wasn't very severe. We were kind of on the south end of it. I think maybe further north of us, they got a bit more snow, perhaps. But we had, on Tuesday, light rain most of the day, and it rained all night. And then about 4 a.m. yesterday, it changed over to snow, and it was blowing a bit. And yeah, it was just a little winter snowstorm. And of course, today with the sun out and everything, most of it's melting already. It didn't accumulate to very much down here, maybe an inch or inch and a half. So we're running out of winter days, and this is definitely a winter sweater. So this episode is going to be Throwback Thursday, since it's Thursday. And I believe it's Throwback Thursday number 3. So I know I've done some in the past. And before we get started, I would just want to say thank you very much for all the views and the likes and subscriptions and nice comments that everyone leaves. I really need to start getting more interactive with all of the comments and viewers. I do some, but I need to do more because I really like that back and forth, and it's hard to do it this way. It's all pretty much one-sided. But if you comment and let me know what you're thinking or what you'd like to see, anything like that, that's very helpful, and I appreciate it so much. So that's that. And I had to look back at an episode for, I forget what I was looking for. Some information on something I had made because I was making another one, and I thought, how did I do that? So I was looking back at an episode, and it was, I think, in this room, and it was sunny, and you could just see, I was holding stuff up, and in the sunlight, you could see all of the dust in the air, and I just thought, sparkles! It just looked like there were sparkles everywhere. It was so pretty. I thought, look at all that dust. It's just my very sparkly podcast. So there you have it. The sparkle vision. Here comes George. The cats, it's sunny and all that, and they've got the front door open. Well, not open to the outside, but they've got sunbeams to lay in, but they're getting antsy. They want some activity. So George wants some activity. Here, buddy. He doesn't like to be held very much, so he's not going to stick around too long. Just say hello, George. Yeah. He's my big boy, aren't ya? Oh, big boy that wants to snag the sweater. Snag the knitting when he's uncomfortable. Yeah. Okay, George. All right, he didn't wreck it. So, why I want to talk about this sweater today? Well, because it's a nice sweater and it's a winter sweater. But, I've got to reach and get them. I had been, last month, I think it was, no, maybe it's been 2 months ago. I've been meaning to talk about this for a while, and I kept forgetting to. I had been going through some old boxes in the basement through paper. It was mostly paperwork and not crafty stuff. So this was in there kind of, I'm not sure how it got mixed in with these other papers. But I found these pages of, like, here's 3 pages, and this is on old scrap paper, handwritten, penciled written inventory of yarn. And this is from when I still lived at home, and I had taken a lot of my yarn up to the attic, which was not really a finished attic. So yeah, I had taken a bunch of it up there, and then I would go and work up there, and it was just sort of a little hideaway, hidey hole up there. So yeah, inventory of yarn that I had in the attic, and I'm looking at it, and some of it I thought, wow, I don't know whatever happened to that yarn. I don't remember making anything with it, so maybe I sold it in a rummage sale or donated it or something. Some of it I still have. So this list would have probably been made in the 90s, early 90s. And yeah, some of this yarn I still have. Not a lot, but some. And it's not all yarn. Some of it is, it says boxes of fabric and that for weaving. It was when I was getting into weaving. So yeah, all kinds of supplies. And then I found these pages of labels. I had, when I would use the yarn, some of it, I think I used all of these, I was stapling them onto these sheets of paper by manufacturer, and yeah, keeping my yarn labels. So these are Unger yarns. Here's a page full of Brunswick yarns, like Germantown. That was one of my favorites. And Ballybray, yeah. And then here, all these Peyton's. Look at that. All the Peyton's labels. And more Peyton's labels. And then if I didn't have the label anymore, I had written the information down by hand. More Unger. Yeah. So, and of course, a lot of these are acrylic yarns. That's what I used a lot of when I started out. And some of them were nice acrylic yarns. Some of them were just average. George is fine. He found a sunbeam over there to sleep in or do something in. Anyway, yeah, a lot of acrylic yarns, but there were some, and cottons. I seem to make a lot of things with cotton. I don't do that so much anymore. Off and on. But anyway, so I found those and I thought, gosh, should I hang on to these or not? And I don't think I'm going to. Some of them that are, have some neat artwork. I mean, I really like the old vintage labels from the 40s and 50s and that. So I don't know. I don't think I'm going to hang on to them, but I just wanted to show you all before I did toss them. So there was that, and oh, here's another. And remember, Burnett Gloucester, that was my first Throwback Thursday project. Sweater that I showed was that blue cotton pullover. Yeah, so that was a good one. Anyway, and then here, way pre-Ravelry, this was probably, well, 92 it says. And I'm trying to think if I had a computer. I did have a computer at that time. But here, handwritten needle inventory with a grid and double pointed needles. So, yeah, so these are, and then how many that I had? Did I have? Oh, I had 8. I had 4. Some I only had 2 double pointed needles. Oh, bamboo, aluminum, and plastic. I wanted to see what my little code there was. Yeah. So yeah, bamboo, aluminum, and plastic. I had 13 7-inch number 2 needles. A lot of socks. Although I knit socks on 0 needles. And then, yeah, my circular inventory. I'm not nearly that organized now. I just have a whole bunch of needles. They're all upstairs. They're not in their cases or anything like that, or their packages. I do have a holder for my circulars. I have a holder for some of my double points. Some of my straight needles are just in containers, you know, sticking up. And I still use straight needles. I just used some for a project this week. So, yeah. And I've been thinking, well, should I get rid of some of these needles that I don't use anymore? I keep thinking, well, I can use them as, you know, stitch holders when I want to try a sweater on. Have I? No, maybe sometimes. So, yeah, I don't know. Because I have some of those that were like all plastic, all nylon, the circulars. I don't use those very much anymore. But needles, you know, if they're in a project, stuck in a project, and then I need another pair the same size, it's nice to have extras on hand. But here's the one thing that I was just laughing at. This is February 1st, 1994, and that's a year and a half before I moved into this house, moved out of my mom's house. So 1994, this is my unfinished projects, and I remember putting this together. So they are sorted by category. So in the knitting, I have pages, 25 unfinished projects. Then it goes to embroidery, and there were 7 works in progress. And then crochet, only 3, which seems kind of low. I wonder if I didn't think of all of them. And then weaving, there were, and this is unreal because I don't know how I was doing this many weaving projects, but 9. At 1994, I think I had a rigid heddle loom and I had a floor loom. And this says I had a table loom, but I don't remember it. I don't remember it at all. A table loom from, I'm not going to see where it says it's here. On the table loom bought at auction. I don't remember buying a table loom at an auction. I kind of do, but it was there was one that I bought somewhere that was a 2-harness loom and not a 4-harness loom that you would do overshot on. So I am really, you know, kind of scratching my head about what happened to that loom. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, most of these aren't actually on projects that were on looms. They are like rag rug. I was cutting apart a chenille bedspread to make a rag rug. I don't think I ever wove that. I know I have the strips downstairs in the basement in a box. I need to do those things. So there's that. But that's the interesting thing is like 1994, how many of these projects actually got finished? Well, number 1, Bally Bray Cape. It's sort of finished because I gave up on it and I cast off what I had. I just didn't like the project anymore. So just a few years ago, I cast off what I had and folded it in the washing machine because it was a wool yarn, Bally Bray yarn, which is a nice flecky tweedy yarn. And I felted it down, and it's a cat mat in the living room, and they are using it. Chenille Afghan, that was the Elizabeth Zimmerman Puzzle Pillow Blanket project. I tore that out, ripped that out, didn't finish it. Yep, didn't finish it. I was almost done with it too, but it was so heavy and bulky. It heavyweight cotton chenille. Very soft and plush, but heavy. And I don't know what I was thinking making that. And the weight of it was kind of pulling the garter stitch apart at the angles of that project. And that, so it wasn't looking very good. And no, ripped it apart. Patrice's mulberry sweater, and I do believe I finished that because it says body of the sweater is done. Sleeves need to be picked up and knit down, and embroidery needs to be done. It had a duplicate stitch band of leaves, I think, on it at the bottom of it. So I do believe I finished that one and gave that to, it was a commission for my friend Patrice. Fair Isle knitting bag, that is upstairs finished-ish. It is done. I just don't really use it as the completed object that it is. And I will show that in a future episode. Knitting Guild of Canada, Master Knitter Afghan. I was in the Knitting Guild of Canada for a while, and I thought that their Master Knitter program looked a lot more appealing than the one from Knitting Guild of America. So I was doing their squares, and yeah, I never finished. I maybe did 4 squares. And I never finished. I was using Canadian wool too. I was using Briggs & Little wool to make it. Yeah, so I just did a few. It's done. There's some mittens that I can't remember anything about at all. Maybe if I went back up and looked in this pattern book that it says, that might jog my memory, but who knows. Cabled mohair pullover. I still have that upstairs. I was going to rip it out. I might have ripped it out. It was this big ball, one big ball of Peyton's mohair yarn. And it wasn't really a variegated, but it was a multicolor dye job. And mine was dark blue and purple, and I don't know if there was some teal in there, but yeah, one ball of this mohair was supposed to make a sweater. And I started it, and I'm not sure why I didn't like it. I think I ripped it out and just wound it back on the ball. I don't think it's even in the project stage anymore. I was going to get rid of the yarn. I was going to donate it, or maybe I think I probably even tried to sell it in a yard sale, and it didn't sell. And I don't know why. It's nice mohair fluffy yarn. But I still have it, and I did have looked at it in the not too distant past and thought I should do something with that. Yeah, it's nice yarn, nice enough yarn to keep and make into a project. But it's so funny because I prioritized all of these too. And so that one says, this is a low priority project, does not need to be completed by such and such a time if Patrice's sweater gets done first. So yeah, I was like, do this one before that one and this before that. There was a shawl collared vest, which was another Meg Swanson pattern that I was probably 2/3 of the way done, maybe further, and I just, wrong choice of yarn. It was coming out way too bulky and big, and not, and the yarn was a wool acrylic blend that looked more acrylic than nice wool. It kind of fooled me, you know, and I thought, I don't like that yarn anymore. So I gave up on that, and I do believe I just took the needle out of that project and put it in the trash. Cathartic. It's cathartic to do that every now and again. It's nice when you can repurpose something and, you know, save it, but sometimes you just do have to let go. I do anyway. I don't do it that often, but so there are other things on here like that, and And then every category, so yeah, like in the embroidery, gosh, and the, yeah, 20 some knitting projects, and it's so funny to see some of them. It's like, oh, I gave up on those years and years ago, or oh yeah, I finished those. And of course, yeah, this was all before Ravelry, so I know, you know, and even before digital cameras. So if I took, and I did take some pictures, photographs with film of my knitting, and I need to find those pictures and scan them, or, you know, take photos of them and load some of those old projects onto Ravelry, just so I can kind of remember. They're in albums somewhere, or boxes or something, you know. I've seen a few photos. But yeah, these embroidery projects, like this one, number 4, Flower Girl pillowcases. This is a low priority project, and it's this pillowcase tubing that had the stamped embroidery on it, and then it had an eyelet edge. So after you finish the embroidery, you're supposed to crochet an edging on it as well. And I had done one of those pairs of pillowcases, and this was another one. And I've seen this project up there not too long ago, like within the last month. I have had my hands on that project, and that's kind of how it is. You know, I'll come across and I'll go, oh, look at this, and I'll bring it down and I'll do a little bit, and then it gets put by the wayside. But I really should finish those pillowcases, because it seems like I know I could use a couple. I could use a pair of new pillowcases for summer, because there are, some of my old ones are getting very, very, very sheer. So, pillowcases. Yeah. But anyway, after I did that, then I took every project, and I have this, here's my priority list. And so the cat embroidery pillow project was top priority, because I was making that for a friend of my mom's. She had sent me the kit, and I think even sent me a stand to put the project on while I was working on it. And she couldn't see very well anymore, so she couldn't do the project herself. And I volunteered, and I thought, gosh, I better get this done, because she's elderly, and, you know, I have to get it done. She could die. I would feel so bad if that happened. And luckily, that didn't happen. I finished it, sent it to her, and as a thank you, she sent me her pressure canner. And I never did use it, because we had a pressure canner, and I thought, I mean, it was a nice gift. It was a nice gesture. I donated that to one of our, I think just recently, not too long ago, I donated it to we had a swap of household items. So, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, you went down the list, and then there were a bunch of knitting projects that were next. There was a weaving project that is like, oh, that was the first medium priority projects. It had 12 high priority projects, medium. It's so funny, all these different codes and you know, rankings and that, and this convoluted system of prioritization. I wonder if I could do that now. I don't even know. And then here, the size of the project. Is it a small project, a medium, large project, as far as just the mass of it? And then T stood for, it's a take-along project. So this one, the mittens could get worked on probably more easily than the cat pillow, because I couldn't take that along with me. It was in this big stand. So I should be so organized today, huh? Wouldn't that be great? Anyway, why I'm telling you about all this, besides just, you know, true confession time, is that project number 7 on the hit list here is this sweater. So obviously I finished it. And I even think I finished it before probably in 1994. Because I know it was before I moved up here. And I wore it a bit, and then I got too big for it, you know, and I couldn't wear it anymore, and it got put away. I have a cedar chest in my bedroom, and that's where most of my wool sweaters live, and so it probably got put in that bottom of that chest, and I just kept thinking, oh, that's too small, that's too small. So it's nice to be able to fit into it again, and I will stand up and show you. So and I thought, I do want to talk about this sweater, but do I know anything about it after 31 years? Well, thankfully I found my notes here, because it says this, oh, it's not number 7, sorry, that was the cabled one. It's number 12 on here. Blue cabled pullover. Project number 12. This sweater is made of ZOOM wool, and yes, it is Dale of Norway, or Dale. ZOOM wool. Look, I still have some. I have 3 skeins, 3 hanks of this left. I think I bought 10 altogether. I put this on the scale just now before this episode to see, and it weighed 573 grams. So I must have used 6 hanks to make this sweater. I have 3 left. I could make a vest, probably. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. It's a very vibrant blue. Can't make just anything out of such a bright, well, not bright, but, you know, it's blue, definitely. I think this was a good choice for this yarn. So, ZOOM wool, and it is 100% wool, 100 grams. This does not tell the meterage on this label. Oh, wait, yes, it does. Approximately 150 meters to 100 grams. And then it's got 14 stitches to 10 centimeters and 18 rows to 10 centimeters. That's all in Norwegian. You handvask it. Hand wash. Handvask. And it's 5.5, 6, you know, and I think I probably bought this before I realized what metric needle sizes were. So, yeah, just, it's a woolly wool. It's a bit scratchy. I can wear it next to my skin. It's not terrible, but I do notice that I have it on. So, it says here, this is an adaptation of a sweater from Vogue Knitting magazine using Elizabeth Zimmerman's percentage system. There is a sheet keeping track of rows worked and pattern repeats. At the present time, the body is too short and needs to have a few rounds added to it before joining it with the sleeves. This is a medium priority project. Once the sleeves and body are joined, it won't take much to finish it up. It should be completed soon because, get this is so sad, it has been exposed to dust and dirt and needs to be cleaned. Where was it? Oh, that's why I think I had taken things up to the attic, and I would go up there and work, and maybe I didn't put it away. Maybe it was, you know, up there getting dirty. Maybe it was just, I don't know. You know, who knows? It was, but yes, apparently dust and dirt, and it needed to be cleaned. How sad. True confession time there, hey? Oh, bad. But such detail I had in here about that, about the project. So yes, Vogue Knitting, it is. There's horseshoe cables going up the sleeve. There's a little bit of seed stitch accents on there and between the cable panels. And I will also show you, and this kind of got a stand-up collar, and then if you can see, the back is also cabled and patterned. And raglan shaping. I did this bottom up, obviously, because yeah, I had to join the sleeves to the body. Do have them cuffed up, so if they're a bit long for me. If I'd cuff them up, they're very snug, not tight, but there's probably there's 0 ease on this. I can't squeeze much without squeezing skin there. So yeah, 0 ease, and really 0 ease here too, but I think it looks like a good 0 ease. You know, it's not, there's something about all of the ribbing and the accent ribs and that kind of thing, the cables, that just really make it work as a 0 ease sweater. So very happy with the project. I don't wear it very often, and I'm not sure why. It just gets pushed to the bottom. And well, one thing is, it is shorter. Like you can't really see how far down it goes. So it just depends, you know, on having the right bottom piece to wear with it. And I've got jeans on today, and that's fine. Sweater and jeans, it's good. Looks fine for that. So yeah, I should wear it more often. I'm glad I'm wearing it today. Well, we still have a day or two of winter left. We'll have winter for a while yet, but you know, it's definitely a warmer sweater. So yeah, my Throwback Thursday. And you can see here that I stopped doing the horseshoe cable because I ran out of, you know, enough stitches to do a repeat. Now, many years after I finished this sweater, if I finished it in 1994, the workshop I took with Patty Lyons was 2016. So 12 years later, 24, I'm really bad at the math sometimes. I took a workshop with Patty Lyons, and she had a tip for this. So, you know, I mean, it doesn't look too, like from here, you wouldn't know there was another cable down here, would you? But I stand up, and then you see, wow, that cable stopped really early. She had a tip of, you know, this is a symmetrical cable. And yeah, you don't have enough to do the full cable, but you have enough to do one side of this cable. So her tip would have been to do another, you know, as if this was just half a cable into that arm shaping. And I thought about that, and I thought that's a good idea. I'd like to try that sometime in a project and see how that works. And I just haven't had a cable project on the needles lately to let me do that experiment. But I think it's a good idea. You know, if you've got a large cable repeat, can you break it into a smaller chunk? Because this is definitely, you know, you're doing 2 things. It's really 2 cables going in different directions that make the horseshoe. So yeah, I could have done that here. Now, there's not anything on the side, on the sleeve, to do that, you know, to worry about that. But yeah, up here, it would be nice to try it. And that's another thing about this sweater, is that they weren't in the 90s, in the early 90s, they weren't putting short rows in garments, or if this was like a knit flat and I was changing it to knitted in the round with the percentage. I'm not sure what changes I made. I'll have to try and find this in the Vogue Knitting and read the pattern. But there was no short row shaping, no raising the back of the neck. So this is identical front and back. And for some reason, it works. It works. There's no like poofiness here. It's not, it's I can't really show you the back of the neck, but it's sitting just fine all over, which makes me kind of question short rows a bit. Do we need them? We maybe don't need them in every single project. And this is a good example of where it's fine without them. Thankfully, luckily. Yeah. So this is my Throwback Thursday blue cabled sweater that it's just cozy. Cozy and nice to wear. So that is pretty much our knitting content for today. And, I thought, oh gosh, I don't have much to talk about. This will be short. Well, that's kind of a good thing. I've wanted to have shorter episodes, not go on and on for hours and all that. So I'll briefly tell you what I'm reading. And I mentioned, I think a few episodes back, that I had just started, it was a while back, the holidays, that I had started this British cozy mystery, and I didn't give up on it because I bought the book intentionally, because it was the first book in a series, and I had like book 6 or 7 already that I had bought at a used book sale for 50 cents, and so I thought, oh, it's not the first one. Well, let me see. So I found the first one and ordered it special, and I thought, if I hadn't done that, if it had been that book from I would have not finished it. It had moments where it was okay, but it and I'm not going to tell you who wrote it, because, I really don't, people try their best, right? It's hard to write a book. I haven't written a book. I shouldn't judge. But this author threw like 12 characters in at you all right away at the beginning, and I couldn't keep track of who was who. And it was told from there was narration, but they were focusing on this one guy as if he was the main character. He was not the detective. He was not he did not in any way help solve the crime, the murder. So I'm not sure why he was the main character. This was a 184-page hardcover book, so a thin hardcover book, not a paperback even. 184 pages, not many pages. I was halfway into it, and there still hadn't been a murder. There still hadn't been any. The stuff that was leading up to it was just like, ho-hum. None of it seemed relevant to anything. And there was a detective who came in, and he actually kind of got fired right away. So then another police inspector came in, and then this tax inspector guy came in, and the two of them were sort of butting heads, but then also working together to solve this. And that tax inspector guy is like the one who keeps continuing on in further books in this series. He didn't really become the main character of the book. He kind of did, but not really. So it was, and I still, even halfway through and further on, it's like, who is this again? Who's the one who got murdered? It's just not gelling with me. But I was just determined to finish it. But so it took me forever to read it because I was just not interested in it. So what do? I go pick up another series. My friend Sally gave me a set of books from her mom, paperbacks.
You'll need to unlock your iPad first.
Siri thinks I'm talking to him. I'm not. I must have said something. Sorry about that. She gave me a set of books, and it's 6 or 8 paperbacks, all by the same author, this Gwendolyn Butler. Again, British Cozy Mysteries. Well, the first, I put them in order, and this whole idea of reading books in order stems from two reasons. One of my literary friends, talked about how novelists, especially when you read their first book, it's like they just pour everything into that first novel, and it's usually so fresh and so good and just, wonderful. And then they go on, and if you're lucky, if they're lucky, the subsequent books, and they don't have to be a series, but just books that they write, are as good. Sometimes they're not. I can think of one author who I read the first book that he wrote, and it was wonderful. I read the second book, and it was okay. I read the third book, and I was like, ugh. And then I went to skipped a few and did 7 maybe. And they weren't even, they didn't build on each other. They were independent books, independent characters and themes. But like book number 7 was the best, So you just don't know. But that first one was, really good. So I kind of got that in me that, try and find the first book because it's probably the best. And, or they're finding their way. That can happen too. But with series, how it got me on there with series is that, Nancy Drews, when I was in grade school and my friend Cheryl and I, we started reading the Nancy Drews from the local library, and we started at the beginning and we read them all in sequence, and they didn't really build on each other. They sort of referenced earlier books, but those were standalone stories too, but we read them all in order. So it's that little bit of OCD. Let's do this all in order. So I have this series. This is book number 6 in the series. It's the first one of the 6 or 8 books that Sally gave me. This is the earliest one, was number 6. And I tried to find through interlibrary loan, through, all the different catalogs. I had the librarian try and help me. We did bigger searches than I can do on my own. We could not get a hold of the first novel that Gwendolyn Butler ever wrote, which would have been probably back from the 50s, if I remember right. Because this one is dated 1960 originally. And I thought, okay, this is gonna bother me. But I got kind of tired of having a stack of 6 paperbacks sitting there that I wasn't gonna do anything with either. And I need space. So I broke down and I'm reading number 6, and I'm enjoying it much more than the previous series that I read. It's written better, I think, and the characters, not so many. There's an interest, there's a there hasn't been a murder yet, and I'm 84 pages into it, and not that that's important, but they're building up to something's going to happen. There's definite suspense in this book. So, this one is called Death Lives Next Door, Gwendolyn Butler. And it's pretty good. I'm reading that. I am reading a autobiography, also, that I'll talk about in the future when I'm further along. I just started it. And then I'm also watching Vera, because it's the last series of Vera this year, and I had started watching her several years ago. I got the DVDs from the library for the first 1 or 2 seasons, and I watched them and I enjoyed them, and then I had other things to do and I didn't keep up with it, and so now I went back and I restarted from the beginning, and I've been doing Vera, but it's hard. You can't do too many in a row because you kind of get in this, not depressed, but just, life is tough. I guess it just shows that life is tough, and yet you see compassion, and you see, you see human nature, in them. And so, Yeah, it is hard to see a lot of grisly crime and you know, that kind of thing, and the violence, if there's violence, and so it's hard to do too much of that all at once, but I'm working my way through Vera. And podcasts. I'm still working through Leslie, Knitting or Death, and her podcast is called Not Enough Yarn, or Not Quite Enough Yarn. And I am in the COVID years now with her podcast, which is interesting to hear. She did a daily 5 minutes or so every day about, you know, what's happening with COVID. And it doesn't seem like that was so long ago, you know, but yet there's so much of it that I kind of forgot about how intense a lot of that felt. And yeah, what all was happening that year and into the next year. And yeah, so it's taken me back a bit, and in a good way. And don't forget too quickly, you know, that we helped each other out, that we cared about each other for the most part. So anyway, that's what I'm watching, and I started a couple other new to me podcasts that I'm trying to catch up on. Earth Tones Girl is one, and I'm going back to the beginning of her series. I like it a lot. Denise is her name, I believe. And yeah, that's fun. So there's that. The last thing I'm going to talk about, and this is still getting long. See? I could talk forever. I live alone, so I only talk to cats. And this is my chance to talk to people, even though you're not sitting here. You are sitting here. So you're a captive audience. So with the Maker's Bingo, and I haven't crossed anything else off, I'm going to soon block a finished project. I'm soon going to finish a whip. I'm soon going to make a gift. So there are 24 squares. If you do 2 a month, you'll have it done in the year. And time to catch up. So if you would like a card, please contact me at livelearnknit@gmail.com, and I can send you a PDF. I just haven't taken the time to figure out how to put it online, the PDF. And it's pretty as a PDF. I could put it on there as a JPEG and you could save it. And it's just tidier this way. You know, I know it's going to look okay when you try to download it, and it won't be grainy or pixely or weird. So maybe that should have been a square on here. Learn some technology. Anyway, so there are going to be prizes for a bingo. I don't have a bingo yet, for the quarter. And here are the prizes for the first quarter, which is January, February, March. So I will draw these sometime in April. You still have a month to get going on this and try and get a bingo. And I will talk more about how you report that you have a bingo. Basically, let me know, send me a screenshot of your bingo card. And one thing I am also going to do, because I said I didn't want to double dip, I'm going to start making notes like, okay, watch a Fiber Arts podcast. Well, whose? Okay, I'm going to write whose I watched so I remember. Create in public. I'm going to make myself a little note. Oh, we knit in the park last week. Make a swatch. Yes, that was that blue swatch that I made. Because if I just cross out finish a whip, it's like, well, which one was that? My memory, not as good as it used to be. So yeah, Maker's Bingo. So the prize is for January, February, March. And since it's, the end of March and it's spring and it's getting nice and springy, there will be 2 drawings I hope, if enough people submit, there will be one for the United States, so I can ship to the United States and I don't have to worry about customs or anything like that. And then there will be one for international, which will be a credit for a Ravelry pattern of up to $10 in value. And for the US, for the actual package, because it's March and it's spring and everything, we're going to do 2 skeins of this lovely yellow yarn. It's Mrs. Crosby yarn, and it says Mrs. Crosby loves to play. And this is the steamer trunk base, which is 100% superwash merino, and the colorway is called Golden Butter. Doesn't that look golden butter? And it is, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you can kind of see it here, like right there's the little variation. It's kettle dyed yarn, so it's not a complete solid. It's kind of mostly a solid, but there are some tonal variations to it. So this is 2 skeins of steamer trunk in the Golden Butter colorway, and I believe it's a, I'm not sure what they would call it. It's a tightly twisted yarn. This would really show, it's very round. This would show cables really nicely. It says it's 164 yards to 100 grams. So that's not quite worsted, but it's certainly heavier than a DK. And then to go along with, there will be color coordinated yogi teas of lemon ginger, mango ginger, and peach bergamot, right day. And that one's got caffeine in it. The other 2 don't. So there'll be that. And then there'll be a little something from me in there, a little something special. So that'll be the US drawing, and then the international will be the gift card, or the pattern gift. So please do some making, do some checking off the list, and you can do 4 corners. I don't know if they're very good corners. I know what I'm going to do for my Learn a New Technique. There's a shadow wrap short rows, which I have never tried, and I want to try and do those. I saw it, and I haven't had the chance to, but I want to try and do that. That's going to be my new technique, I think. Last weekend, I thought, foolishly, that I would take a stab. Don't ask me why. How did I take a stab at brioche? I don't like brioche. It's like, people say I don't like broccoli or I don't like Brussels sprouts, okay? I do. I like both of those vegetables, but I know some people will out and out say they don't like them. Well, I don't like brioche. You can like brioche. You can love brioche. That's fine. It's not for me. But for some reason, every once in a while, if you want to try a Brussels sprout and you go, oh, no, I don't like that. I tried it again. I really don't like it. That was me last Saturday, trying to do brioche, trying to do an Italian cast-on 2-color, which I also don't like the look of. I know Andrea Mowry loves it. Other designers love it. It's not for me. I don't really like the way it looks. I like just a regular old long tail that shows an edge. I mean, what's wrong with that? Everybody's different. Everybody can like their own thing. But I tried it. And I threw my knitting across the room several times. And after I had spent about an hour and a half on it, I said enough and just, nope, it's not happening. Go do something productive for the rest of the day. So, yes. I have one more thing to talk about, and it's coming up to an hour. There is a bonus on the blog. If you've lasted this long, here's a bonus for everyone. It is eggless chocolate cake. I made it last Sunday. It was really good. And this recipe has been around for forever. Sometimes it's called wacky cake or depression cake or something like that because there are no eggs in it. And it is this, I mixed it all just in the bowl by hand. You could get your mixer out. You could just do your hand mixer if you want, but I just did it all by hand and it beat up so quick. But it's the where you put the dry ingredients in the bowl and you make 3 wells, and you put oil in 2 of the wells, and then you put vinegar in 1 of the wells. And, you know, as you mix it all together, the vinegar is interacting with the baking soda that's in the dries. And that is what makes the cake rise. And it was moist. It was delicious. It's chocolate cake. So it had cocoa in it. And I mixed up a little butter frosting, you know, just a thin amount, put it on there. And after I did that, I thought, oh, shoot. When I was writing the recipe up, I thought, oh, shoot. If I wouldn't have done that, if I would have just sprinkled powdered sugar on or done a different type of frosting, a glaze, just milk, or not milk, but oat milk and powdered sugar, put a glaze on, it would have been completely vegan. And it's hard for me to find completely vegan recipes that are good. Sometimes they seem for me to turn out a little gummy. This was fine. So that cake, and also why I was making that, it was because I wanted just to make a small cake. You know, here, 8-inch, 9-inch cake. Had a craving. So I had looked up, and I wanted chocolate. So I looked up the, you know, and this is perfect. I'm going to try this, and da-da-da. And it was really good. And the cake, sadly, is gone. I only made it on Sunday, and it's Thursday. Yeah, I might have had cake at the end of breakfast one day or 2 days this week. Might have had cake twice a day. I did have cake twice a day. So I might, because this evening I'm going to have the same dinner meal that I had on Sunday, which was pan-fried fish fillet, you know, piece of fish, and broccoli, and a quinoa and grains blend. And I'm going to have all of that again tonight. So I think what I'm going to do next, after I get done with this, is make that cake again. And I'm going to try my gluten-free flour combination, which is usually oat flour and sweet sorghum. I'm going to try making it gluten-free. Then it would be a gluten-free vegan cake, if that works. If that works, I'll add it to the recipe on the blog, what I did. But go check that out. Enjoy that recipe because, yeah, eggs still sky high. And who knows what's going to happen. It's the time of year now when hens should be laying more, but it's not really that. It's the whole bird flu thing that's messing up the egg production. So we'll see what happens. And I have eggs. It wasn't really intentionally trying to find an eggless recipe, but I thought, wow, maybe somebody else could use this right now. So enjoy that. Enjoy your making this week. I don't have a quote again. I was gonna bring one with me, and I forgot it. So just be well. We're getting through the end of winter. Spring's coming, and I know everybody lives in different climates and other parts of the world, and just whatever kind of weather you have, enjoy the sunshine. Bring your own sunshine. Here's some sunshine. You know, find it wherever you can find it because it really brightens our days. Okay, take care, everyone. Be well. Bye-bye.